The United States has banned oil imports from Russia over the war in Ukraine. Within a day, the ripple effect is now starting to show. Oil prices are at a 14-year high. Cost of oil per barrel has reached a whopping $140 a barrel. And Russia is now threatening retaliation. So the US is hunting for alternatives. The US President Joe Biden knocked on Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates' doors. But all he received was a cold shoulder. The two leaders declined requests to even take his calls or arrange calls. Instead, they held calls with Russian President Vladimir Putin. Experts say that the two Gulf nations are regarded as the only global suppliers to pump enough oil to ease the price surge. OPEC is a group of countries that majorly exports oil to the world. So the West requested the bloc to pump up production, but the US left empty-handed, and that's because Russia, a member of OPEC, immediately declined the request. These are testing times for the United States and the two major Gulf nations. Under the former presidency, Saudi Arabia and the UAE forged deep ties with former President Donald Trump. He sided with them in regional disputes with Qatar, pulled the US out of the Iran nuclear deal, and even stood by the Saudi prince after the killing of journalist Jamal Khashoggi. But with Joe Biden in power now, relations remain tense. The 79-year-old called the Saudi kingdom a pariah. He condemned MBS's intervention in the Yemen war and refused to declare Houthis as terrorists. But of course, desperate times call for desperate measures. The US has approached Venezuela, a key ally of Russia, but also the owner of the world's biggest oil reserves. This is the first time that diplomatic channels between the two nations have opened in years. The nation was once one of the four main exporters of oil to the United States to get the oil flowing. Washington is even considering lifting sanctions against Caracas, but the reality is that the country is ill-prepared to start churning out more crude. The industry has seen years of mismanagement and corruption under President Nicolas Maduro. In the 1990s, Venezuela produced 3.2 million barrels a day. In 2020, it dropped to one-tenth of that. Our correspondent Susan Tehrani gives us more details about the developments ongoing, and this one comes from New York. Take a look.
Overwhelming majority, according to a recent poll, if I'm not mistaken, 71% was the last one that I saw, of Americans do back the fact that banning Russian oil is the right thing to do. However, the problem is when we go further to see these polls on how the questions are being asked is how to move forward and how to really replace that Russian oil, and that's where the complications come in. You know, on the one hand, you have many within the president's own party and Republicans saying that the answer is literally under America's own feet. You can really become energy independent, bring down the price of oil by opening up fossil fuel production here in the U.S. right away. It would be a lot faster. It would bring the price of gas down. America can produce its own oil without importing oil from, by the way, Russia is a very small portion of imports in the United States. The majority is Canada, Mexico, and Saudi Arabia at this point. And now the United States is looking to countries like Venezuela and calling for outputs more from Saudi Arabia and possibly a nuclear deal with Iran. But it would be faster to produce here in the United States. So a lot of that poll that we're seeing, Americans are for producing their own oil here in the United States as opposed to getting it from Russia. That's one aspect of it. Another aspect of it is the president is not being clear that when their gas prices go up, when he says that Americans need to pay a price, then for how long and at what cost. When these prices go up.
WION World is One is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news updates on the move.